Hello everyone, and welcome to week 4 of my Christmas Tag Tuesdays that I'm doing for the months of November and December in 2021. Today I'm going to create some dry embossed cutout tags for Christmas. I'm going to use the botanical embossing folder, which is in the core catalogue, and a couple of others that I've got for examples as well, the wood panel embossing folder and the cascading dots. These are still available online, so you can still purchase them even though they're not shown in one of the current catalogues. The first thing I'm going to do is cut out a tag with the buildable tags, and I've already prepped some, and I'm also using this little rounded rectangle tag topper, which you can see here, that fits perfectly on top of that. So the tag comes out like this, and then you place it in your embossing folder and you can move it around so that you get the pattern that you want. So I want the flowers or the floral elements here, so I've got 3 of them shown. So I can run this through my embossing folder with the tag already cut. I found that if you did a whole white panel and then cut it out with a tag, it would flatten the embossed pattern a little bit, and I'm running it through again with some of these shaker card dies, so that flattens it even more. So to get a more raised look for your embossing, it's better to cut the tag first and then run this through your die cutting machine, and then you get a lovely panel like this ready to attach to a tag. So basically all I need to do is attach the top layer to the bottom layer. The reason why I'm doubling this up is this, I do like the strength. If you've been watching the last 3 videos, you know I always double layer my tags, but also to write on the back I want a plain surface rather than an embossed surface. So it's just a case of quickly attaching these 2 items together. Now I have gone ahead and I've cut 2 of these stitched hearts. So this is our heart shaker die cuts. So I've cut 2 because I want a front panel and a back panel. And I've also used some acetate that was cut into a rectangle and put that inside my embossing folder and run that through my embossing folder, and you get this lovely embossed pattern with the acetate. Then I have used this open heart here to run that through my die cutting machine. You do have to run it through a couple of times for it to work, and if it doesn't go all the way through, you can easily cut the remainder out with your scissors, because this is going to be sandwiched in between these 2 sections here. So to adhere these, I'm going to use liquid glass because I want to put these aside so that they adhere. So I need to just put them underneath a block or some stamp pads so that it all adheres, so that we're ready for the next step. It's a simple case of putting that together and putting some more liquid glass. You don't need a whole lot. I'm hardly squeezing this bottle at all. And then lining them up, and then I'm going to set that aside with some blocks on top or some ink pads on top to adhere the glue. You can see I've gone ahead and prepped, and this will give you an idea of what the next step is going to be. I've gone ahead and prepped the star, so I've done the same thing. I've cut 2 of the stitch star outlines, and for this one, instead of using acetate, I've used a laminating pouch and sprinkled in some white embossing powder. I have shown how to do this on a previous video, so I will link to that. To do this technique, it's quite simple. You just open up your laminating pouch, get your embossing powder, sprinkle some embossing powder on, close that over and run that through your laminating machine, and depending on how much you sprinkle, you get something that looks like this. If you sprinkle too much, you get a bit of a blob effect happening, but if you go fairly sparingly, you will get an effect like this, and when you run it through your laminating machine, it all melts and it does look so pretty. And then I have simply cut this one out, just like I did with the heart, with the open die of this, so that it will adhere to this frame. Now the thing to remember with this star is it's not exactly equal, so you do have to line it up so things fit. So I'm going to adhere all of that together just like I did with the heart. So while that star is adhering, I've put that underneath some ink blocks. We're going to move on to the next step of this tag. And I want to cut out a section of this heart, but obviously if I cut it out with this one, there is nothing left to adhere it to. So these are rather fabulous when you get these. They cut out tiny little hearts as well, which you can use as a shaker element, but it also means that it fits exactly inside this stitched area. So when I run this through my die cutting machine, I will still have an area to adhere this frame outline. So I'm going to do that now. So here I have this piece cut out from the tag. You could save that definitely to put on another tag if you wanted to. These will all pop out, so you can use them as little shaker elements as well. You can put those aside so that you could use them in another project. So you can see where I've cut this out, that will fit perfectly on here. So I'm just going to apply some glue around the outside area of the heart, but leave this section that comes over here free of glue. Alternatively, you could just put the glue straight onto the tag, and I will do that for the back of it so that you don't have to guess, but you can see how pretty that looks. And then we need a backing for this, and I've cut another stitched heart to go over the top of that. What you could do is leave off the double layer here and attach the acetate directly to the tag and line this up so that it fits. And then we need to put some blocks on that or some ink pads to make everything adhere together and set that aside. While that is drying, I can get on with doing the star element. Having already cut out this piece, exactly the same process that I did with the hearts, I'm ready to stick that on, but I haven't quite lined up the acetate, and because the star is a little bit fiddly, it's not a mirror image of each other, it can be tricky to do, but that's okay. If you don't quite get it right, you can just trim off with your scissors, and these microtip non-stick scissors are the best I've ever used. So I'll just trim off that bit of acetate that, oh sorry, this is the laminating pouch piece that hasn't quite lined up properly. I'm ready to adhere this star to the tag base. So what I've done here, I'll put the glue directly onto the tag. And this one I have run through with the cascading dots, and I've rubbed a little bit of white daisy ink with a sponge dauber over the raised elements, and then I've brought in some white opal liquid pearls and done some other little dots of it just to add a little bit more to this. So now I can turn that over, line up my star, and then we can move on to the next bit of dressing these up. I have already stamped this partial garland, or you could make a wreath out of this. I have brought in an extremely old set. This is a White Pines card making workshop set. I've kept that because I knew that I would want to use it again. And what I'm going to do is adhere this, and I've stamped this one in New England Ivy, and I've used Carnation Red liquid pearls to put little dots all along here. When I do this, I always squeeze a little bit first to make sure that the liquid pearls is flowing nicely. and you can just gently touch it to the paper over the top of where these little dots are, which are like little berries. So I wanted to bring in some more red. Where they're a bit bigger, you can just do a little swirl. But for the small ones, all you need is a tiny little dot. And then you need to put that aside to dry because it does take a little time to dry. I'm going to bring in some of the white Tombow glue and just run that along. And where I've smeared it a little bit too much, I can just get a piece of paper and spread that around a little bit. Sometimes it flows out and you get a bit more than what you need. And then I'm going to place that over top of the heart. I'm going to adhere the tag topper. And now I'm going to bring in my star, and I'm going to do a very similar thing with the wreath or the little garland part. And this time I'm going to put this at the top of the star. You could put it across the star like this, but I think I'd like to put it there. And then I'm going to put the little tag toppers on. I'm alternating the colours so that when you look at this, I wouldn't put a red tag topper on top of this one because you wouldn't really see it. So I'm just coordinating the colours so that they give a little bit of contrast to these features. And then the back is going to have a red one. Then I just need to bring in a little Merry Christmas sentiment. This Merry Christmas is from the Holly and Ivy card making workshop. I really love how clean and simple that is. And when I get a stamp set like this, I like to do a whole heap of heat embossing because I know that I'm going to use this a lot. So I do it all in one go so they're all ready to go for tags or cards or any project. So this is going to go across the base here for the star, and I'm just notching off on an angle that piece near the S, trimming it down to where I want it. And for the heart one, I'm going to place that across the top section here because that garland is down here at the bottom, so this will balance all of that out. All I need to do now with these is attach some twine or some ribbon. So I'm going to clean everything up, but hang around because I've got some other options and other colorways to show you with these. So I will be back in a moment. Here are the finished tags with some twine added, and you can see how effective it is with the see-through element from the embossed tags. This one uses the cascading dots, and I've put a little bit of the white opal pearls just to lift that, and I've also sponged, like I did with this one here, a little bit of white daisy ink over top. So this one is using the acetate sheet, and then when you flip them over, it's complete on the other side too when you put the frame on the back. And this one is using the embossing powder on a laminating pouch. And you can see this one's got a fairly concentrated amount of embossing powder, and this one has a more subtle amount. So it all depends how much you sprinkle on with what you get. And the colorways that you can use, I love red, white and Kraft for Christmas, so that always works really well. So these ones here don't have the cutout section like these ones do. These were the ones that I started off making, and that was going to be today's tag video, but I decided to take it to the next level and do a little bit of cutting out at my daughter's suggestion actually. So there really are two options that you can use for this type of tag. You can have a die cut out part from your embossed tag, or you can put the elements straight on top. You'll notice this one looks a little bit different. I've actually embossed some vellum and then cut it out with the heart shape for a little bit of a different look. and then the tag on the back is plain. But these ones all have, the see-through ones all have the element on the back to finish them off so that when you turn them over, it looks nice and complete. I'll put some still shots up at the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed this week's tag creations, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.